Ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? Once again, I'm your boy Nev from Nev's Tech Bit, sifting through all of this information coming down the way. Let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, we all have friends that will get a little bit of information, they'll take it, and they will run with it. And the information that they get, they will not discern, they will not go through it, and they will think that this is what's happening in every case, and there is no alternative. The unfortunate part of all of this is a lot of the information that they get are from articles and not reports. And what's really scary is that the lion's share of individuals, especially intelligent individuals, don't know the difference. And when I ask them, what's the difference between a report and an article, most people give me a hard time because they say it's the same thing and that I'm stupid. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there is a vast difference between an article and a report. And if you're consuming media and if you're going out there protesting, you need to know the difference if you're collecting information. Once again, we all have friends that like to get a little bit of information and think that that represents the whole picture, even though they don't have the whole picture. Maybe they act like they do. So these George Floyd protests are a great example of that. Let's face it, we got some crazy people out there. Let's flip over here and take a look at some of the crazy people we got. We got this guy, the guy with the gray hair. Here, let me back this up a little bit. So this guy is breaking the street to get some bricks so that they can throw. Notice how he's all dressed completely in black. The protesters grab him and give him up to the police. So look at what he's wearing versus the protesters. If you're wearing all black, and you're throwing bricks, then you are not a protester. I'm not even sure if you're a rioter. You're something else altogether. But it's these guys. This is Umbrella Man. Everyone's heard of Umbrella Man. Look at that. He's not looting. He's just breaking stuff. And I need people to understand that this is the opposite of a Nazi. So a lot of people will say that the opposite of a Nazi is a good person, that a Nazi is a bad person and a good person is simply the opposite. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. Ladies and gentlemen, we have right wing and we have left wing. If you get too far to the right, we get too much order. If we get too far to the left, we get too much anarchy. So now, a Nazi is far right. The opposite to the far right is the far left. On the far left, we have Antifa, who use black bloc methods. They say that they're not an organization, but once they do something the same way for so long, it becomes pretty clear that they're a group. Now, with protests for Chanology and whatnot, there's a lot of individuals that like to say that we were not a group. But in fact, we were. We had a social hierarchy. There were people who were leaders. There were people who were support. Everybody had their part to play. No one was exactly equal. And the police knew exactly which one was which one. So they might not be organized in the same way someone on the far left would be, like the KKK. They don't have their grand wizards and all. Grand wizards. Oh my god. How could the far right, how could the KKK actually do that? Grand wizard. You know, if I went out there and I said I was a grand wizard, man, uh, I'm sorry, I can't get over the words they called themselves on the far right. But once again, the opposite to the far right isn't goodness. It's the far left. Sometimes we need right, sometimes we need left. That's just the way it goes. But once again, the opposite of a Nazi is an anti-fascist. Now, the thing is, the people that call themselves anti-fascists these days, I don't think they represent the anti-fascists that were around 20 years ago. These seem to be a new group that have been taken over, more or less. Now, let's come on back to the anarchists. Anarchists are red and black. Know those colors. Know them well. If we get over to Antifa, red and black, they also take those colors. Once again, anarchy is far left. And that doesn't have anything to do with what's going on here. But we do have people who are here just to cause anarchy. We absolutely have people here just to cause anarchy. And one thing that really ticked me off recently, ladies and gentlemen, is that a news piece came out saying that an Antifa group, or a group that claimed they were Antifa, came out with an article. Sorry, I think I already said this, that it's time to go to the suburbs and drag people out of their homes. The thing that gets me about that is most of the people on the far right that I know are too busy drinking and shooting their guns to care about stuff like this. You guys remember that? You guys remember that crazy bald guy that came into town with the bow and arrow to these protests? That's what the far right will do. That's what I see far right people doing. And once again, there is an article coming out that that said that people on the far right had released this thing from Antifa. And now, so that article was true, but the thing was, it was an article. And for something like that, I think it deserves to be a report and not an article. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people online that disagree with me and don't even understand the difference between a report and an article. But it's interesting. You got to know this stuff. You got to know this stuff. And the thing that gets me is everyone's going to be looking at this thinking, okay, every rioter is far right, when that's just not the case. You can't say that Antifa is not involved in this. And if you want to say that Antifa is not involved in this, I would implore you to go to r/anti-fascist. Look at what you see there and tell me that that's not them. We got a lot of information, ladies and gentlemen, but unfortunately, we don't have a lot of good information. Maybe that's the next step of the information superhighway. Maybe that's the next step of the internet, to get good information. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to demand better out of our news groups. I got into an argument because an article that I read came from, it was quoting NBC, and I don't trust NBC. I don't trust Fox, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. If Twitter wants to come out with this information, they should come out with something that's more than just an article, because this is the time when we need to be 100%. We can't half-ass our news, and we need all of our information to be there and to be proper. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it for me. Nev from Nev's Tech Bits. Take care of each other. Don't be trying to mess with each other's information. Have a good one, folks.